Hello, everybody. Get excited. Shout. Woo, woo.
So, oh wow, that was sexy. So you can either sit or stand as you wish, guys, okay? I'll let you invite your co-host on stage. Now the stage is yours.
Okay, so I wanted to invite Marek Ciesla, serial entrepreneur, fundraiser, startup founder, investor, one-man show. Marek, sit down. Let's
Thank you.
have a little fireside chat here. So, how are you doing, Marek, today?
Great. Seeing lots of people here is just excitement. And I met lots of, former colleagues from different projects, which is another good thing. And glad to see you after your journey from the States. Okay,
so just a couple of things about Marek for the people who don't know Marek and or are watching this on YouTube. So Marek is a serial entrepreneur, ex-DivX, BitTorrent, MBA at Oxford Brookes, founder of ALLPlayer, Shirley, Thorskan, Catzilla, Woolet, and MIMIGroup, and raised $2 million in crowdfunding and from investors in, what, the last 1 year or 2 years?
700K was for the last 4 months.
Wow, that's spectacular. So I think, the way we're going to do it is we're going to have a Q&A at this fireside chat for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to open it up for questions via Twitter. That's our Twitter handle, Marek Ciesla and T. Cytowski, so you can send them either to me or to Marek, and we'll answer your questions. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can also send us questions afterwards. We love questions. So, Marek, so many companies. What drives you then? Is it money? Is it just the game?
It's a challenge.
Fame?
It's a challenge, and it's something that I always wanted to make, as I just introduced to the world, something that I believe could solve some problem.
Okay. So, how many companies are you involved as an advisor, investor, or a co-founder?
So major, I'm in 3 companies, like kind of full-time. It's a Shirley, Woolet, MIMIGroup crowdfunding company, but I'm a shareholder or investor in about 7 others, and including Swimmo, Thorskan, ALLPlayer, and others, yeah.
And indie designers, most recently.
In the designers, that was a recent internet shop for independent designers. Yes, that's correct.
So how do you choose the products you get involved in?
First of all, I'm choosing people that can run a project on their own. So that's the major thing. I mean, everything can be outsourced, but having someone who can run it and not tell him what to do is it's a good thing. That's a priority thing I'm looking for in them.
And that's it. They just need to have their shit together, be able to respond to email, be responsive,
and have this kind of drive, which is very important. I mean, I'm not working with people that you have to tell them to do. I'm working with people that actually they trying to figure it out by themselves.
Okay. So a very popular phenomenon from the Valley is product is first. So you have to build product and build something people want, as Paul Graham says. You're from the different school, and you're from the school, it's sales stupid, and a startup needs to do sales. So you're totally contrarian to the Valley, and we heard Marvin from 500 Startups. We heard Andrew Ackerman from Dream It here in Bitspiration, and they talked about product and startups. You talk about sales and driving sales. Why?
I think someone told me that the best thing to sell is the air. So I'm talking about having some idea about thing, trying to sell it, and the next bring the experience for that thing. That's why I use crowdfunding or pre-orders. I'm trying to sell things before even they are produced. That's my priority. That's why I received already from people more than like $2 million for the products that they even didn't existed. So sometimes people come to me and they have brilliant product, but they don't know how to sell it. So my priority thing is, first of all, sell it, sell the vision, sell something, make a prototype. If people like it, you can start production. But don't do a product, invest money in something that people won't buy it.
Okay, so sales. So we get to my favorite question, my favorite thing, Kickstarter. It's people have no clue what Kickstarter is. Some people say it's a tool for product market fit. Some people say it's a sales channel. Some people say it's the new Amazon. What is it? How would you use it?
That's right. Everyone thinks about Kickstarter as a kind of a shop. They can get something cheaper than street price already later on shown. But Kickstarter is actually for those that try to support founders in their idea of bringing some better product, better service to the world.
So would you say that Kickstarter is a good way to go to the US for European founders instead of like going to an accelerator or just pounding the pavement in Silicon Valley?
I think it's a good thing. We can leverage, for instance, spending like $30,000 in Woolet project. We received from the market 330,000. So that gave us not only the product that was sold, but it gave us distributors and the pipe channel, sales channel that's, just shown the figures like 540K in the first orders. So this is something more than leveraging, the money we spent, but something that we can leverage the PR, even the investors can come, after, the good campaign, because the investors, they check in the project at Kickstarter, they check in exactly if there is a traction or not, and they come in always after.
So the most popular question at Bitspiration is, should you go to the Valley? Everybody is asking, it's like this craziness, it's like the gold rush. Should, people go to the Valley or stay in Europe and build their companies? My answer is it can go both ways. And I think, that's like, the popular answer. But you've been to the Valley, you talked to VCs, you talked to angels, you talked to accelerators, and after coming to the Valley with your product Shirleybox, you decided to build the company from Europe, from Krakow, where you're based. Any thoughts about that or advice to people here at Bitspiration or on YouTube?
I believe some of you heard about how the scene of Silicon Valley has changed. It's a little, shift towards the traction from the venture. So it's better actually to make the traction. The traction doesn't mean going to Kickstarter, but to deliver the product. Once you deliver the product and make the traction 1 to 3 months time, you can come back to the Valley and ask for the real money. Otherwise, they will ask you to, to buy the company or your project, and this will be more like an acqui-hire than, buying the IP.
So one of the things that sort of, fascinates people here in Poland about you, other than, that you're involved in so many projects, is that you have multiple co-founders, business partners. You have co-founders, business partners in New York. You have business partners, co-founders in San Francisco, in Krakow, in Warsaw, and probably in a couple of other places that I have no clue about. How do you do it? How do you, get these co-founders?
It's important actually to find right people to work with. I cannot do everything on my own. That's why I'm trying to get partners that can, I can shift my projects to them. And sometimes it's a risky thing, but, the faith in finding good people, pay it forward, meeting guys like Tytus, always, brings good things to us. So maybe I'm lucky, but I'm trying to keep everything tight and deliver the products.
So biggest problem with co-founders? Or,
yes.
Or the smallest problem with co-founders?
I had many cases where I got some shares for advising for other things, but the co-founders sometimes they didn't either deliver the products or the idea about the business wasn't actually the thing that was something that I believe is the best for. So always I'm stepping down and okay, do on your own. But if there is a company that sticks and we do together, there is a huge chance that we'll be successful. And so far, the biggest challenge for every company is to deliver and to sell. And I think the competence, we've gained with my partners actually proves that it's doable.
How about ego? I mean, there's a lot of ego at Bitspiration, a lot of colorful people.
That's very true. The ego is something that, especially, I want to generate, but younger generation. Just the one case, I won't tell the company, but the Kickstarter. Imagine the movie was shot, and the founder, the CEO, just erased everything that shown him asking people for help for Kickstarter. And because of that, Kickstarter, put a ban on the project. That's why we had very big issues actually to gain more money from Kickstarter. And because of the ego, we got this issue. So that's, ego is kind of a difficult thing, and we need to be very humble, doing the business and work with others, and be honest.
Speaking of being honest, success and failure. It's like a thing that every entrepreneur struggles with. What is your biggest success and biggest failure, and lessons learned?
Everyone knows me, from the project.
You got to be super concrete here. You're not going to run away. You're on camera.
I think the numbers, it's something that's the biggest success. Building from scratch companies that, now altogether is more than 50 people in different, talking about the startups and the building up, receiving $2 million US. And the biggest failures, I've made so many projects like Artuba, like others that didn't work out. I had some failures, regarding, people I was working with. They didn't deliver. This is something that I believe it's on me because I choose the people I work with. So,
what do you think is an exit from a company a success? Would you consider that a success? Being getting a big fat check, from Excel partners or Andreessen Horowitz, or being bought out by Google. Would that qualify as a success?
Maybe for some people, not for me. I like to run a rabbit than actually do the exit, cashing up the money. The process is something that drives me, which is a great thing, and the exit always comes, later on. So
when I was preparing for this fireside chat, I called up a lot of investors in the Valley and here in Poland, and one of the common themes was that everybody loves you. How do you make investors love you? And it's a phenomenon. I called people up, and they said, Marek Ciesla, I'm more than happy to give him, a check. He always delivers.
I think that's the key. If someone delivers, everyone wants to, send a check because the risk is much lower than working with someone who actually didn't deliver anything at all.
Okay. And then the million-dollar question, how do you make big money as an entrepreneur and a startup founder? You know, people, you know, want to succeed, and how do you, you know, succeed big? You know, there's that big line from Silicon Valley, go big or go home. So how do you make it big from Poland?
I think it's being surrounded by very good people, people that can, you know, share some knowledge. The only one case I had recently is the Woolet case, where, you know, the idea of figured out that we would like to have a company that we set up in the States, thanks to Tytus that helped us to do it. After 2 months, we sold 6% of shares for $10,000 per 1%, which actually get a valuation company for $1 million.
That was low. I was encouraging a higher number.
But that was something that we did within 3 months' time. So from the idea to raising a company that was worth $1 million, it took us 3 months. And 2 months later, we received from the market $330,000 and pre-orders for $540K.
Okay, so I mean, you're a man of the Renaissance, you know, with so many companies, interests. You know, you talked about, you know, this drive, you know, will you be ever satisfied? I mean, what's your, like, end goal in all of this?
I've no idea. It's just, actually, I'm on a drive. I don't see myself, you know, somewhere over there. It's just, I like being in a drive. That's what drives me, actually, further.
So it's the journey, not the end goal.
The journey is actually the key.
Okay. So you work a lot. You really work a lot. How do you, you know, have a life balance? You have 2 kids and a wife, and you're, you know...
Beautiful wife. Yes, and 2 kids.
And 2 kids.
Yes, and
they're
4 times per week I'm going for CrossFit. I don't know if you know what CrossFit is, and doing the very heavy, you know, heavy weights exercise.
And that's also your new startup, CrossLifter.
Yeah, and that's why the latest startup actually was taken from CrossFit, because we figured out that people that, you know, lift the weights, they actually have problem to find right jeans. And that's why we got a brand called CrossLifter, the jeans that actually is designed for this kind of people.
So you don't have to walk like this,
no,
right?
No, you don't have to walk like this, yeah.
Okay, so let's open it up for questions from the crowd. We have a couple of more minutes. So I am looking at my Twitter feed. You want to look at your Twitter feed? Did someone send me a question? Right. Okay. Oh, there's a question from Daniel De Gusto. I guess he's from Krakow. Marek, Titus, are you somehow relatives? You look so the same.
I heard this actually somewhere.
I think, you know, we're not, so officially we're not related. We have different mothers and fathers, but, you know, we think alike and we love to do deals and bring talented people together. Yep. Anybody else? Guys, you know, you can pitch us, pitch Marek. Okay. Can we get a mic to the gentleman? Okay. So the question is, how many projects do you reject before you take a project in?
Oh, okay, so...
Good question, by the way.
For now, actually, I tend to reject for one reason. I'm already overbooked till end of this year regarding Kickstarter, and And if someone comes up to me with really, really cool project, I'm trying to squeeze in, but otherwise I can give free advice on things, but it's really difficult actually to give my time and team I run to deliver the product. Sorry for that. But always you can call me, you can pitch me on Twitter, and I always will be able to actually help you, tell you, but it will be very hard actually to work for you because I'm overbooked.
Okay, more questions. There we go. Sorry I was late.
It's like the Olympics, right? Thanks for everything. First of all, it's Ahmed from IT Keeper. I know that both of you are serial entrepreneurs. I was just wondering which one of these companies or projects that you had was your favorite?
My personal favorite one is a Woolet, the Woolet that you will never lose. It's a IoT technology, Bluetooth technology inside.
So I'm also involved in his project called Indie Designers. I think it's an awesome startup that's going to make big money for Marek and maybe of course it'll make money for the investors. I'm in it for the money. And it's a project that connects designers and people who are arts to Kickstarter, and they can test their project from Academy of Fine Arts or design, and they can go to Kickstarter via the Indie Designers platform. And there's a lot of people who are creative here in Europe, here in Poland, that don't have access to Kickstarter. And with Indie Designers, Marek solved the problem of people going to Kickstarter.
Right, so you don't need to set up your own company in the States or have your own US bank account. The Indie Designers solve this problem for you.
I love it how Tytus is just becoming, you want to be Tytus of Medici or something like that. You're obsessed with art now. I love it. More questions? Come on, guys. This is the last talk, so.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm just really curious. How do you feel, how big is the market of hardware startups in Poland?
It's huge, because you cannot talk about the Polish market. If you launch anything regarding IoT, whatever, you have to think about global market than Polish one. So it's huge. Doesn't matter, It's better off to make production here or R&D, but thinking about selling everywhere else.
It's the IoT market in Poland. It's exploding. As a lawyer, I get an email from a hardware startup at least twice a week with questions about how do I set up a company on Kickstarter, how do I reach out to VCs in the Valley.
There's actually even a lot of investment. There's a company called Sigfox out of France, just raised 110 million. And they operate all across Europe and the US. So, more questions? Final questions? This is the last talk before you go to your petty lives, to the boring cave of coding and doing hardware shit. Come on, we need one more extremely cool question.
Marek, you want to ask a question, maybe to me, or,
Whoa.
So I would like to ask you, in shortly, how is the best way to set up a company in the States?
It's simple. Call me and be big.
Thank you.
Okay, sure, no more questions. We have one. Make it count.
I think most of the questions that we all ask, if there's something wrong with the echo here, most of the questions that we all ask and most of the conversation that it's all about trends. So how do you think about trends? And because you generate it and you implement it, so how do you find it very shortly? And how do you see the opportunity of something that is never outside, but when you make it and in 3 months you're just going to make a big success out of it?
It's very simple, actually. People say that check what's in the States now, that will be in Europe in 2 years' time, but in Russia in 4 years' time. So this kind of trends we can, think of. I've never looked at the trends that Google Trends shows, but actually I'm checking this out. I mean, it's best if you check on Kickstarter what's trendy, what's really taking off over there. You can deliver this product, to Europe, everywhere else. That's one thing. Second, I'm now starting working with some people that we can simultaneously work on Kickstarter, not only in the States at Kickstarter, but in Russia, because it's a huge market. They have own Kickstarter, and we're thinking about Japan as well.
My answer to that question is, don't think about trends. You want to create, you don't want to be a follower of trends. You want to be a trendsetter. And, the Valley is talking about algorithms, and they believe in models. You want to create the model, and the Valley and all of these VC investors think in schemes and models, and you want to create a market and give people something they didn't realize they need. And for example, Woolet is an example of that. People needed a wallet that they cannot lose. So, and iPhone, iPad, Steve Jobs gave people things they never knew they needed. So give people things they need, but they didn't know about it.
You make it sound so easy, man. Well, guys, I think, except if we have one extra question. Oh, there we go. Thought you guys were done. We're just getting fired here.
Yeah, hi, me again. I was wondering, from the projects that came to you, were there a lot of projects that you said that they don't fit on Kickstarter? Because Kickstarter is a specific environment. Not every project fits there.
That's really true. Some projects actually they won't fit for Kickstarter. That's why it's better off to run a test for 1-2 months time and figure out if there is a group of people at Kickstarter that matches the target group of your target, product or service.
I got a project back in the summer of last year, and the guy called me, and he had great references from a great founder here from Poland, and I said no, because it was a sex toy, and I didn't feel comfortable with doing it. And right now, a year later, I was reading about him in the newspaper here in Poland, and that he was trying to do Kickstarter, and he has some issues.
This project actually is called Lovely. It's on Indiegogo, but the problem is with this kind of projects, Google and Facebook won't approve any advertisement. So you cannot actually use normal traditional advertisement actually to boost, the Kickstarter or Indiegogo on this kind of sex toys. And so some projects actually are not good for crowdfunding for some other reasons than people think first time.
Well, I'm sure you can get creative and actually talk with the Tinder guys. I'm pretty sure they'll be more than glad to do advertising on sex toys and stuff like that. So you just need to be creative here. Any more questions, guys? Are we tired? Did you have fun? Okay, let's try again. Did you have fun?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, guys. Marek, Tytus, thank you very much for being on stage, guys.